Black Op Radio presents 50 Reasons for 50 Years. Why the Warren Commission may be the greatest fraud perpetrated on the American public.
I have been accused by a number of people, some of them journalists, of a distortion of history. And if there is any common thread of attack running through claims of those critics of JFK, it is the notion that somehow there is an accepted, settled, respected, carefully thought out and researched body of history about the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
By the time the House Select Committee on Assassinations disbanded in 1979, it had uncovered serious discrepancies in the official record in areas such as the medical evidence and the role of intelligence agencies. But this information was classified, hidden from the public, and not mentioned in the final report. Instead, acoustic evidence discovered at the last minute revealed that at least 4 shots had been fired in Dealey Plaza. Meaning, according to the committee, a second shooter joined Oswald in firing at the president. The case was handed off to the Justice Department of the incoming Reagan administration, which arranged 2 panels to discredit the acoustic evidence. And that was the end of the official investigations of the 1970s. The verdict remained a lone gunman. Although books were published and researchers continued to utilize the Freedom of Information Act through the 1980s, the Kennedy case largely dropped from the public radar. So when Oliver Stone's film JFK was released in 1991, it was certainly the highest profile effort in years and served to bring the case fully back into the public eye. And this prompted immediate outrage from the American establishment. While the movie was expressing information and ideas that had been developed by the research community for almost 3 decades, the criticisms of the film were framed as personal attacks on the director, Oliver Stone, and he was forced to pay a personal cost in the culture at large, just as Jim Garrison did 25 years before. To this day, in the mainstream media, the name Oliver Stone is sort of a shorthand for unhinged conspiracy theorist.
This was a package of unfathomable lies packaged together, though, with a cinema artist's great skill. That was a blend of real photographs and fictional scenes that merged together with such skill that you were unable to tell the difference.
Oliver Stone's movie, JFK, is one continuous lie. Not one piece of evidence pointing towards Oswald's guilt in 3 hours and 8 minutes. So Stone got by with cinematic murder. His credibility has been completely destroyed, at least as far as this case is concerned. You can't distort history, and he's done that.
JFK misrepresents the truth the same way that Joseph Goebbels misrepresented the truth as he cranked up the propaganda machine for Nazi Germany. Misrepresentations, omissions, lies that have been perpetrated by Warner Brothers, Costner, and Stone. What they have done is just plain evil.
Let's face it, no one likes to be called a liar, let alone an evil Nazi. But one might ask, didn't Oliver Stone invite these charges by filling his movie with distortion or disinformation? Well, for one thing, Oliver Stone never claimed that his film was the absolute truth, and he was always upfront about where and when he used dramatic license. But consider this. Looking back at the film from the vantage point of today, and in the context of all the accusations against it, Stone's JFK matches up against a historic record a lot better, certainly, than the Warren Report. On the 40th anniversary of the assassination, ABC News broadcast a program titled Beyond Conspiracy, which suggested that the consistent poll numbers showing distrust in the official story of a lone gunman was largely the result of a gullible public swayed by the cinematic lies of con artist Oliver Stone. The program offered examples of what it called fundamental facts beyond dispute, which were allegedly distorted in the film. It's worthwhile taking a closer look at these facts.
Fact. The distance from the sniper's nest in the window to the president in the car at the time of the fatal shot was 88 yards. For a former Marine sharpshooter, which Oswald was, the shot was well within his capability.
Well, I have here Oswald's scorebook from the Marine Corps, where when he did his practicing, he demonstrated that he was highly competent as a marksman. For example, here is a type of target which is shaped very much like the head and shoulders of President Kennedy, sticking up above the rear seat of the car. And this is at 200 yards, which is more than twice the distance at Dallas. And it's rapid fire, which certainly was true at Dallas. And he scores 48 out of a possible 50, which I can tell you is excellent. Well, you say that's one day. Well, here's another one. Same thing, 200 yards, twice the distance, and rapid fire, and he scores 49 out of a possible 50. So he was not only a very good shot, but he was consistent.
What John Latimer and ABC News do not tell their viewers is that Oswald's shooting skills were tested twice while he was in the Marines. The first test, in 1956, which Latimer refers to, occurred after an intensive 3-week training period solely concerned with rifles. Oswald scored 212, 2 marks above the minimum for sharpshooter. In May 1959, Oswald was tested again without the benefit of intensive training beforehand, and he scored 191, 1 mark above the minimum for the low ranking of marksmen. Colonel Allison Folsom testified to the Warren Commission that such a result indicated Oswald was a poor shooter, as most of his Marine buddies said he was.
They're telling us that Oswald got off 3 shots with world-class precision from a manual bolt-action rifle in less than 6 seconds.
The Stone film is wrong. The first shot was fired around frame 160 of the Zapruder film, the second at frame 223, and the last shot at frame 312. 3 shots in 8.3 seconds. For Oswald, that was plenty of time. Dr. Latimer has simulated the Kennedy shooting dozens of times. He's 89 years old.
This is exactly like the gun that Oswald used. Since he got his shots off in 8.5 seconds, I'll show you that it's possible to come close to that, and here we go. So we'll sight in our telescope and get off 1 shot, and then a second, and then a third, taking a little more time for the last one, as he did.
I don't know what rifle John Latimer is posing with, but for ABC News to insinuate that it is in any way comparable to the rifle found in the school book depository is an insult to the intelligence of its viewers. Ronald Simmons of the U.S. Army testified to the Warren Commission that examination of the actual rifle revealed serious problems with the bolt and trigger mechanisms, requiring great effort to open the bolt, great effort to actually fire the weapon, and resulting in the weapon firing off target. Robert Fraser, the FBI's firearms specialist, also testified to the Warren Commission that the rifle was inherently inaccurate. The program's assertion that the first shot occurred at frame 160 of the Zapruder film simply has no corroboration. The only official finding as to the shot sequence produced by the House Select Committee on Assassination's photographic panel placed the first shot at frame 190. While frame 160 may fit better a predetermined conclusion that the single bullet theory is possible, what ABC News does not share is that at frame 160, the view of the limousine from the alleged sniper's nest was obscured by branches of an oak tree. As seen in the Secret Service recreation from 1964, we are asked to believe that a would-be assassin passed up a perfect opportunity so that he could fire his first shot through a tree.
The single bullet that struck President Kennedy and Governor Connolly did not hang in midair. It did not zigzag right and then left. It went straight through the president and into the governor. This is Warren Commission Exhibit 399, the bullet that passed through the president's neck and the governor's chest, that broke the governor's wrist and lodged in his left thigh. In Stone's film, it is referred to as the pristine bullet. There is no way, the Stone film says, that the bullet could have caused so many wounds and come out at the end virtually unmarked.
The problem was that people were denying that there was any damage. They were calling it pristine. And it's absolutely, positively not pristine. It's flat.
I urge the viewer to use common sense. Let's refer to the U.S. Army's #1 ballistic expert at Edgewood Arsenal. Dr. Joseph Dulcie told the Warren Commission in the spring of 1964 that it was not possible for any bullet to strike and break bone and end up looking like Commission Exhibit 399. Another fact the Warren Commission decided to omit from the report. As for the animation used by this program, which claims to prove the single bullet theory possible, researchers such as Pat Spear, over several chapters on his website, and Robert Harris, with his online video critiques, have convincingly demonstrated the obvious problems and distortions, not least of which are the bizarre hunchback figure of JFK and the skewed perspective between JFK, 6 foot in real life, and John Connally, who was 6 foot 4 inches.
Back and to the left. For some conspiracy theorists, this is proof that the president was shot in the head by a second gunman who was ahead of the president's car on the grassy knoll. But back and to the left in no way indicates where a bullet came from. Bodies struck by bullets sometimes go forward and sometimes backward.
The evidence that's definitive in determining whether it was a shot from the front or a shot from the back is the entry wound, the cratered entry wound on the back of Kennedy's skull, which proves that that shot was from the back, not from the front.
The president's autopsy x-rays and photographs show the precise location where the fatal bullet entered the back of his head.
Once again, use your common sense. An honest program would have acknowledged that there are serious discrepancies in the medical record. There is no excuse that in 2003 they ignore the fact that a central focus of the 1990s Assassination and Records Review Board was an attempt to reconcile conflicting evidence between x-rays, witness testimony, missing photographs, wound placement, and the serious flaws of the autopsy to begin with. The creation of the Assassination Records and Review Board in 1992 was one victory resulting from Oliver Stone's film JFK.
I am very proud that JFK has been a part of the momentum to open previously closed files in the matter of the assassination. Congressman Louis Stokes of Ohio, who chaired the House Select Committee on Assassinations, has announced his willingness to consider the opening of the files, closed until, as you know, the year 2029. In addition, Judge William Webster, formerly the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and of the CIA, has indicated his strong opinion that all of the files, House, Committee, CIA, and FBI among them, be made public. A proposal I was extremely pleased last weekend to see endorsed by Senator Edward Kennedy. Now, if the Army and Navy intelligence services will join suit, it is my hope the American people will have the full truth of this assassination.
Stay tuned for the next installment as we expose week after week 50 lies the Warren Commission would like you to believe.